You ever get the feeling like personal finance apps promise clarity but just leave you overwhelmed? Or worse, exposed? Monarch Money says that it can help you take full control of your financial life, safety, and security, but is Monarch Money really as safe and useful as it claims, or just another slick app with cracks beneath the surface? Let's expose the truth. But before I even synced any of my accounts or tracked a single dollar with Monarch, I did what most cautious people do, and I went straight for the reviews. And if you're trying to figure out, is Monarch Money safe to use? Well, trust me, the user reviews are where things get real. They really talk about what their experiences are. Not the marketing copy, not the flashy stuff, but the one-star review section is where it's all at. And one review actually jumped out at me. The guy said that he got charged $49.99 even after canceling in writing. And yeah, stuff like that can instantly raise a red flag. If you're anything like me, you hear billing issues and you start picturing just this never-ending back and forth with support, nothing's going right. But here's the thing, from everything I saw actually digging through most of the reviews, this kind of issue is extremely rare. And if it were to happen to me personally, I know I just go through my credit card company to dispute that kind of charge. That kind of backup does give me peace of mind. But that's just one side of the story from these reviewers as well. Now let's look at what the satisfied users are saying about Monarch. One guy wrote that signing up for Monarch 8 months ago was the best financial decision that he's made in years. He shifted from spending based on his bank balance to budgeting based on actual categories, and the result? Credit cards paid off, savings up, and even a trip to Japan paid in full. Another said he just renewed his subscription and reflected on how it was their first real attempt at budgeting. He said it worked, and they plan to keep using Monarch Money long term. Even threw out an idea for a Spotify Wrapped style annual recap feature, which, honestly sounds kind of cool. So, from what I've gathered, Monarch Money maintains a pretty solid reputation. Sure, not perfect, there's things here and there, but with the volume of the glowing reviews far outweighing these isolated complaints, it does feel like the platform is doing more right than wrong. So that actually brings us to the big question, is Monarch safe to use? Now, the real reason I signed up myself was pretty simple. I wanted, this one place where I could actually see what the heck was going on with my money. Not just a dashboard with pretty charts, I mean like something that actually helps me make smarter financial decisions, helps me plan better, helps me know where my money is. And the first thing that I looked into when researching is privacy and security. So if you're wondering, is Monarch safe? This is probably what you care about most. Monarch doesn't mess around with data protection. Everything is encrypted, not just when it's sent, but also when it's stored. They use things like two-factor authentication and single sign-on, and when an employee leaves the company, their access is immediately cut. That's not something that most apps even mention. Monarch even runs penetration tests to expose any of their vulnerabilities. I've used quite a lot of financial tools, and very few are this transparent about how they protect your info. It genuinely gave me confidence to plug into my accounts and start using it. Okay, now let's talk about something that I didn't even know I needed until I actually needed it, and that's the ability to transfer a transaction history from one connection to another. So let's say you've been syncing your American Express account through one provider and suddenly it stops working. So with Monarch, you can reconnect through a different data provider without losing your entire financial history. That feature right there, lifesaver. Most platforms just make you just start over. Then there's the budgeting here. So Monarch offers two different types. There's traditional category-based budgeting and something they call flex budgeting. So I started with, the classic category method because it felt familiar, assigning a dollar amount to each area. But then I actually tried flex budgeting, which basically tracks your variable spending in a single bucket. If you're someone whose lifestyle isn't always predictable month to month, that feature can actually reduce the stress of feeling like you've failed your budget just because life happened, right? Cash flow reports are another huge win here. You get a visual breakdown of how much you're earning, what you're spending, and how those two numbers are stacking up against each other. So I filtered it by month, by vendor, even by tag. For someone who geeks out over numbers, I think this to me felt really just incredibly empowering. It started populating as soon as I synced my first accounts, and everything was in there. I didn't really have to do anything. I didn't need to set up a full budget just to get value from it. Then there are the reports that I used. So Monarch generates reports and charts that let you analyze trends, spending habits, income flow, you name it. I used it to figure out how much I was overspending on takeout food without even realizing it, and it's more than I thought it was. The reports are intuitive themselves, they're detailed, and they're actually helpful, unlike some platforms that just throw graphs at you with zero context. So recurring expense tracking I used that's also really smart. Monarch auto-detects things like subscriptions, loan payments, or regular transfers. So if your Netflix or your gym starts charging a new higher amount, you'll spot that immediately. As for investments, if your brokerage isn't fully supported, which it does happen more than you think, Monarch lets you manually input your holdings. So I did this with a few lesser-known ETFs, and it felt surprisingly easy. You get full control over the input. Then there's the retail sync extension. Right now, it only works with Amazon, but it's really slick. It breaks down purchases by item, not just the total amount. That way I could see if I spent more on books or electronics that much, both equally expensive, right? It even adds notes to each transaction, so it's wildly useful. They've also added credit score tracking inside the app, which makes it easier to keep tabs on your borrowing health. I love that it's all in this one place: budget, investments, credit score, even your bills all synced together. Now, what really I think gives Monarch an edge over tools like Copilot or Wallet by Budget Bakers is how well it handles these shared finance accounts. Copilot's great if you're solo, but Monarch is made for couples or even financial advisors to work together. Everyone sees the same dashboard, the same goals, and the progress. That's huge for long-term planning. Plus, Monarch supports automatic syncing through both Plaid and Finicity. That might sound minor, but it gave me way fewer headaches when I was trying to link accounts compared to Wallet, which struggled with a couple of my banks. Now, look, there is no platform that's perfect, and this one's no exception. If there's one thing I noticed about Monarch that could trip up some users, it's that the learning curve can feel a little steep at first. When I first logged in, I did feel a little bit overwhelmed by all the features and tabs. There were more filters, settings, and categories than I knew what to do with and than I really expected. But after just a couple of hours exploring everything, knowing where things were, everything started clicking into place. I'd actually argue that the depth here is what makes Monarch so useful. It's built for people who want that kind of control. If you're brand new to budgeting apps, it might take a day or two to really dial it in, but it's 100% worth it. So, is the Monarch app safe? Yeah, we've seen that in the way that it handles your data, but is it safe for your wallet too? If you're a casual budgeter, or maybe you just want to dip your toe in, Monarch might seem a bit premium at first glance. But based on what I've used and compared to what I'd pay a financial advisor or an accountant to help me organize in my life, Monarch is reasonably priced. And considering the updates that they constantly roll out, like credit tracking, iPad support, even bill sync, and many more updates and features, I get the sense that they're really reinvesting their income into this product and making it better. They do also run promos, and I've dropped a link in the video description too, so you can check out the current pricing plan and any available discounts, so go check that out. So, how safe is Monarch Money? In my experience, it's not just safe, it's one of the few apps that actually delivers on what it promises. From the airtight security and flexible budgeting tools to the detailed reports and the shared dashboard features, Monarch made me feel like I was actually in control of my money. I've tested a lot of apps, but this is one I generally kept using, and I think it could be a game changer for you too. So make sure to check that link in the description of this video to get started with our special discount and coupon.